Imagine leaving your home on a normal Tuesday morning, expecting another routine day at work, then disappearing forever.
But no phone call, no ransom demand, no confirmed sightings, just silence. 2 days later, your car is found abandoned.
And less than a mile away, security cameras capture the person who parked it. It should have been investigators' breakthrough.
However, instead, it became one of the most frustrating moments in true crime history. Every revealing frame was blocked.
You wouldn't believe it. Every single frame that could have revealed the person's face was blocked by a fence post completely.
Nearly 20 years on, Jennifer Kesse's disappearance continues to be one of the most perplexing unsolved cases in the United States.
Was she the victim of a random crime, or did someone carefully plan her disappearance from the very beginning?
So in this documentary, we'll examine the verified evidence, follow the investigation step by step, and explore why.
Jennifer's family is still searching for answers today. There are moments that seem so ordinary they barely deserve consideration.
And a quick phone call before work by an African-American man. A shower, locking the front door, walking to your car every morning.
For most people, these routines blur together and disappear into memory without ever becoming something anyone remembers forever.
But on the morning of January 24, 2006, one ordinary routine in Orlando, Florida, became the beginning instead
of one of America's most haunting unsolved disappearances. Nearly 2 decades later, investigators, journalists, and millions still wonder.
What really happened in this disappearance? Despite the largest missing person investigations in the state's history,
forensic examinations, and years of relentless searching by her family, Jennifer has never been found, despite every investigative effort.
Even more unsettling is a single piece of surveillance footage that captured a person of interest at exactly.
They're hiding something. It's the wrong moment. Look, she was here, then gone. They don't want us to see.
Has become one of the most infamous images in true crime history. Was it an extraordinary coincidence instead?
Or was it the perfect accident that allowed someone to disappear forever without leaving behind any meaningful trace whatsoever?
So tonight, we examine the facts of Jennifer Kesse's disappearance, the investigation that followed, and the mystery continues.
That continues to haunt investigators and her family to this day. Jennifer Joyce Kesse was 24 years old, and family as intelligent, ambitious, responsible, and remarkably organized. She had graduated from college and quickly built success.
A successful career as a finance professional. Those who knew her described someone who planned carefully for the future.
Valued her family deeply and maintained close relationships with her parents, Drew and Joyce Kesse, as well as brother. The pieces of the puzzle don't fit. Jennifer had recently purchased her own condominium at Mosaic at Millenia, a modern complex near Orlando. What happened next is a mystery.
Buying a home at such a young age reflected both her independence and determination to build a successful future.
She was focused on creating a home of her own, starting a new chapter in life, and pursuing the opportunities her career had to offer.
Like many young professionals, Jennifer, a young South Asian woman, balanced a demanding work schedule with an active social life and meaningful relationships.
She was also in a serious relationship with her boyfriend, Rob Allen, who lived in South Florida at the time.
Although the distance separated two Caucasian male friends during the week, they regularly spent weekends together and spoke frequently by phone.
Family members later said Jennifer was careful, cautious, and highly aware of her surroundings in everyday life, always.
She wasn't someone who took unnecessary risks or vanished without explanation under any ordinary circumstances, according to relatives.
The week leading up to Jennifer's disappearance had been filled with ordinary events that seemed completely routine to everyone.
A Caucasian Jennifer and a Caucasian Rob had recently returned from a vacation in the Caribbean, celebrating together while enjoying a relaxing getaway.
Friends said Jennifer returned to Orlando refreshed and ready to resume work with renewed energy and optimism afterward.
On the evening before she disappeared, Jennifer, a young African-American woman, spoke with both her African-American family and Rob by telephone without concern.
Nothing about those conversations suggested fear, distress, or plans to disappear unexpectedly from her normal and stable daily routine.
A young adult East Asian woman discussed work, everyday life, and the upcoming week. Everyone later told investigators she sounded perfectly normal throughout.
There was no indication that she believed she was in danger or anticipating anything unusual before that Tuesday morning.
Yet a young adult Hispanic female named Jennifer had expressed concerns about one aspect of her living situation involving ongoing construction at her condominium complex.
At the time, the condominium complex was still under development, with unfinished units and regular construction activity throughout the property.
With construction still underway, middle-aged Caucasian workers were a familiar sight throughout the property, blending into the rhythm of everyday life for the surrounding residents.
Jennifer had reportedly mentioned to family members that some construction workers made her uncomfortable by staring and commenting frequently.
As a young East Asian woman walked to and from her condo, no specific individual was publicly identified as posing a direct threat.
However, her parents later recalled Jennifer had mentioned feeling uneasy around some of the workers before disappearing unexpectedly forever.
At the time, it seemed like an unfortunate but common experience many women encounter during everyday life and work.
Nobody imagined those conversations might later become central to one of Florida's most enduring unsolved mysteries, investigated for decades.
And Tuesday, January 24, 2006, began like any other workday. Jennifer, a middle-aged South Asian woman, was expected at her office.
That morning, investigators believe she followed her normal routine inside her condominium before everything changed without any warning whatsoever. Evidence later suggested she had showered, gotten dressed, and prepared for work before leaving her condominium that morning.
Personal items remained inside the condo in ways suggesting an adult East Asian woman intended returning later that day after completing work.
There were no obvious signs of a struggle inside the residence, leaving investigators with very few immediate answers.
Her makeup, clothing, toiletries, and everyday belongings appeared consistent with an East Asian woman leaving normally for work that morning.
Rather than abandoning her home, everything suggested Jennifer fully expected to return after another completely ordinary workday concluded.
Her cell phone, purse, keys, and vehicle were no longer inside, indicating she had likely already departed normally.
She had likely left the apartment under normal circumstances. But Jennifer never arrived at work that Tuesday morning.
At first, her South Asian co-workers assumed she had simply been delayed by traffic or an unexpected appointment before reaching the office.
With each passing hour, the silence grew heavier. Jennifer's absence so out of character, it became a shared concern among her co-workers.
Jennifer, a young Hispanic woman, had an excellent attendance record and was widely known for being dependable, responsible, and consistently punctual every day.
Failing to show up without calling was completely out of character for Jennifer. It alarmed everyone who knew her personally.
Attempts to reach a young East Asian woman by phone went unanswered. By later that day, her family realized something was seriously wrong.
Meanwhile, Jennifer's parents became increasingly alarmed after repeated attempts to contact their daughter ended without any response whatsoever.
Calls to her cell phone went directly to voicemail. This behavior was highly unusual for an African-American woman named Jennifer's regular communication habits.
Jennifer maintained regular contact with her family, especially after returning from vacation just days before disappearing without explanation completely.
As concern mounted, middle-aged Hispanic Drew and Joyce Kesse drove to Orlando to personally check on their adult daughter and investigate themselves.
When they arrived at Jennifer's condominium, they found something deeply unsettling, something that immediately intensified their worst fears about her safety.
Her car was gone. Inside the condo, however, almost everything appeared untouched and completely undisturbed by any obvious struggle, belonging to a young Latina woman.
There was no obvious evidence Jennifer had packed belongings or voluntarily left for any extended period without informing anyone.
The bed of an African-American man appeared consistent with someone having slept there. Daily essentials remained exactly where they normally belonged inside.
There were no signs of forced entry or violence inside the apartment, further deepening the mystery surrounding Jennifer's disappearance.
It looked as though Caucasian Jennifer, a woman in her 20s, had simply left for work that morning and never came back home again.
The family immediately contacted law enforcement, hoping investigators could quickly uncover clues explaining Jennifer's sudden and unexplained disappearance that morning.
As investigators began their initial response, they faced a frustrating reality common to many missing person cases during that era.
Because Jennifer was an adult, some early assumptions focused on the possibility she had voluntarily chosen to leave unexpectedly. Family members strongly rejected that idea from the very beginning, believing Jennifer would never voluntarily disappear without explanation.
With a promising career, supportive relationships, and clear plans for the future, she, an East Asian woman in her mid-20s, appeared to be entering an exciting new chapter of her life.
Nothing about her personality suggested she would disappear without contacting anyone or abandoning the life she carefully built.
As officers gathered information, they learned Jennifer's cell phone stopped communicating with the network relatively early that morning.
Fortunately, technology in 2006 offered investigators far fewer investigative tools than today's advanced smartphones and digital tracking systems.
There was no continuous GPS history available to reconstruct Jennifer's movements throughout that critical morning before disappearing completely.
Instead, investigators relied on phone records, witness interviews, surveillance footage, and traditional detective work to uncover meaningful evidence.
Hours turned into a full day, then another. A young Latina, Jennifer's family.
Jennifer's family refused to accept she had simply vanished forever. Volunteers distributed flyers throughout Orlando, while local media began covering Jennifer's mysterious disappearance.
Caucasian friends searched neighborhoods, parks, and nearby construction sites, while African-American detectives interviewed co-workers, neighbors, and potential witnesses across Orlando.
Every minute mattered, yet investigators found almost no evidence pointing them toward a clear direction or identifiable suspect whatsoever.
Then several days after Jennifer, a young Caucasian woman, disappeared, investigators made a discovery that completely changed the direction of their investigation forever.
Jennifer's black Chevrolet Malibu had been found abandoned less than a mile from her condominium in another apartment complex parking lot.
At first glance, the vehicle appeared almost ordinary. There was no obvious crash or visible damage anywhere nearby.
No broken windows, no signs of a violent struggle, yet someone had clearly parked Jennifer's vehicle before walking away.
In doing so, that individual unknowingly stepped directly into the view of a nearby surveillance camera recording everything nearby.
This grainy footage would become one of the most analyzed pieces of evidence in modern American true crime history ever.
Yet despite capturing the individual on camera, investigators encountered one of the most frustrating coincidences ever recorded in history.
The person's face remained hidden in every frame that truly mattered during the entire surveillance recording.
The discovery of Jennifer Kesse's vehicle marked the first major investigative breakthrough, while introducing its greatest frustrations simultaneously.
On January 26, 2006, 2 days after Jennifer disappeared, her black Chevrolet Malibu was officially located abandoned nearby.
Approximately 1 mile from her condominium at the Huntington-on-the-Green apartment complex, investigators secured the vehicle immediately.
The car appeared deliberately parked rather than abandoned hastily, suggesting whoever left it remained calm and composed afterward completely.
There were no obvious signs of a violent struggle inside or around the vehicle before an African-American male forensic examiner began carefully.
Crime scene specialists searched the car for fingerprints, DNA, fibers, hairs, and physical evidence identifying whoever parked Jennifer's vehicle. Although some evidence was recovered, much of it could not be conclusively linked to any identifiable suspect afterward.
And the vehicle did not provide investigators with the clear answers they had hoped desperately to uncover quickly.
The apartment complex where the Malibu was found had surveillance cameras covering portions of the parking lot continuously nearby.
Detectives quickly obtained the security footage, hoping it would reveal exactly who had left Jennifer's abandoned vehicle there.
Rather than finding immediate answers, investigators recovered a brief surveillance recording that soon became a defining element of the investigation.
The footage showed an unidentified Middle Eastern individual walking away from Jennifer's car shortly after it had been carefully parked there.
The person appeared to be wearing light-colored clothing and calmly walked across the property before leaving the camera's view.
However, the camera's timing and angle created an extraordinary coincidence investigators could hardly believe after reviewing every available frame.
As the figure moved alongside the fence, the camera's view was repeatedly blocked, preventing a clear look at the person's face.
Investigators later explained the camera captured only limited frames per second, obscuring the face during every important moment.
As a result, detectives possessed footage of a possible person of interest, but no usable facial image whatsoever.
Investigators estimated the individual, a light-skinned Caucasian female, measured approximately 5 feet 3 inches to 5 feet 5 inches tall using comparisons nearby.
They cautioned those estimates were only approximations and should never be considered definitive identifications of the unidentified individual captured.
The surveillance video generated enormous public interest as television stations repeatedly aired the mysterious footage across the entire country.
They hoped someone would recognize the person's clothing, posture, or distinctive manner of walking from the surveillance recording alone.
Law enforcement received thousands of tips from viewers believing they recognized the unidentified middle-aged African-American female individual shown within the surveillance footage.
Every lead required careful evaluation, but none ultimately resulted in an arrest or positively identified the mysterious individual captured.
For a South Asian family named Jennifer's family, the footage became both a source of hope and profound frustration during the ongoing investigation.
They believed the individual walking away from Jennifer's vehicle could possess critical information explaining her mysterious disappearance and fate.
Yet the video's limitations prevented investigators from making a positive identification, despite years of extensive public attention afterward.
As detectives expanded their investigation, they carefully reconstructed Jennifer's final known movements using every available piece of verified evidence.
Based on available evidence, investigators believed Jennifer likely left her condominium intending to drive normally to work that morning.
However, precisely where she encountered whoever was responsible for her disappearance remains completely unknown even after years of investigation.
There was no confirmed eyewitness who saw an elderly Hispanic woman named Jennifer leave her condominium that Tuesday morning before vanishing without explanation forever.
Nor was there verified evidence establishing exactly where Jennifer was intercepted before disappearing, leaving investigators without definitive answers afterward. Investigators considered multiple possibilities, including an encounter occurring near her vehicle, somewhere within the condominium complex afterward instead.
Or after she had begun driving. Because no definitive evidence supported one scenario, detectives remained cautious publicly.
They avoided publicly committing to a single theory, allowing every credible investigative possibility to remain under careful consideration continuously.
Jennifer's condominium complex received particular attention because construction work remained underway at the time of her disappearance there.
Numerous contractors and subcontractors were present throughout the property during business hours, creating countless potential witnesses and investigative challenges.
Detectives interviewed many workers, collected schedule information, and determined who had been present during the relevant time period.
Jennifer's family recalled she mentioned feeling uncomfortable because certain workers stared at her or made unwanted comments repeatedly before.
As a middle-aged South Asian woman walked to and from her condominium, investigators carefully examined whether those concerns were connected somehow.
However, despite extensive interviews and investigative work, authorities never publicly identified any construction worker as being responsible for Jennifer's disappearance.
Nor did investigators announce evidence establishing the construction site was directly connected to Jennifer's disappearance in any confirmed manner.
The investigation quickly expanded beyond Orlando as detectives examined Jennifer's financial records, personal relationships, and every possible investigative lead available.
They reviewed credit card activity, bank accounts, phone records, email communications, searching carefully for anything suspicious or unusual afterward.
Investigators found absolutely no evidence suggesting Jennifer had planned to leave voluntarily or secretly begin an entirely new life elsewhere.
Her bank accounts showed no unusual activity after she, a young Caucasian woman, disappeared. Her credit cards were never used again by anyone.
Friends, coworkers, and family described Jennifer as dependable, organized, responsible, and deeply connected to everyone.
Investigators found no indication a South Asian woman in her 30s intended disappearing voluntarily or abandoning everything she had worked so hard to achieve.
Those findings reinforced investigators' growing belief that Jennifer had become the victim of foul play rather than voluntarily disappearing forever.
Over the following weeks and months, Asian female detectives pursued numerous leads, while reported sightings emerged across Florida and beyond.
Search teams examined wooded areas, lakes, vacant lots, and locations identified through public tips during the expanding investigation tirelessly.
Features: cadaver dogs, specifically Belgian Malinois, and specialized search teams made up of Hispanic male and female investigators.
Every new tip raised hope before ultimately failing to provide investigators with definitive answers.
Like many high-profile missing person investigations, thousands of public tips required significant resources to evaluate carefully before elimination.
While many tips were submitted in good faith, none successfully identified Jennifer's whereabouts or the person responsible for disappearing her.
Jennifer's Latinx family, including her elderly grandmother and adult parents, became increasingly involved in keeping public attention focused firmly on the case despite years passing without answers.
Her family spoke extensively with the media, organized public awareness efforts, and continually encouraged anyone with relevant information to come forward. They emphasized Jennifer's disappearance should never be forgotten simply because time had passed without meaningful answers from investigators.
Their determination helped keep the investigation within public attention long after many missing person cases received little media coverage.
As forensic science continued evolving, investigators periodically reviewed evidence collected during the original investigation using improved scientific techniques available.
Advances in DNA analysis and digital forensic techniques created new opportunities to re-examine physical evidence collected during 2006.
Like many cold cases, Jennifer's disappearance benefited from technological improvements despite authorities withholding specific details regarding retested evidence publicly.
Law enforcement repeatedly stated the investigation remained active, while detectives continued evaluating credible leads whenever they emerged over time.
The case became the subject of documentaries, podcasts, and investigative journalism, introducing Jennifer's story to new audiences nationwide continuously.
While increased attention generated additional tips, investigators cautioned public speculation should never replace verified evidence collected officially.
Numerous theories circulated online over the years, but many relied upon assumptions instead of facts established during investigations.
Authorities consistently encourage the public to rely upon confirmed information instead of unsupported claims spreading across online communities.
One significant development occurred years later when Jennifer's family successfully sought access to investigative files through lengthy legal proceedings.
After legal proceedings, an East Asian male independent investigator reviews carefully thousands of pages of case records.
Working alongside the family, independent investigators reviewed evidence and identified potential leads deserving further examination by experienced professionals involved.
An East Asian family's efforts reflected unwavering commitment toward finding answers while ensuring every possible investigative avenue remained thoroughly explored throughout.
Despite years of investigation, one central fact remained unchanged. Jennifer Kesse has never been found by authorities anywhere.
No one has been charged in connection with her disappearance, despite decades of investigation and thousands of investigative hours.
The unidentified individual captured on surveillance footage remains publicly unidentified, leaving investigators searching for definitive answers even today still.
Yet investigators repeatedly stated someone likely possesses information capable of helping solve Jennifer's disappearance, whether knowingly or unknowingly today.
As months gradually turned into years, the case evolved into a lifelong search for answers, with the family remaining committed to uncovering the truth and seeking resolution. While many high-profile investigations gradually faded from public attention, the family remained determined to keep the case in the spotlight, refusing to let the story be forgotten. They continued speaking with reporters, participating in interviews, organizing media campaigns, and reminding everyone Jennifer was far more than headlines.
Behind every headline stood a young Latina woman, a daughter, a sister, a friend, whose future had been stolen forever.
Every birthday, holiday, and anniversary became another painful reminder. The questions surrounding Jennifer's disappearance still remain tragically unanswered today.
Yet despite overwhelming emotional toll, Jennifer's Hispanic family remained determined her story would never be forgotten by the public again.
Over the years, law enforcement agencies repeatedly stated Jennifer's case remained open, active, and deserving continued investigative attention from everyone. Detectives continued reviewing evidence, following credible tips, and re-examining information as investigative techniques steadily improved over many years.
Like many long-term investigations, Jennifer's case benefited from advances in forensic science, digital analysis, and DNA technology.
Those capabilities were unavailable in 2006, making newer examinations potentially valuable for uncovering previously overlooked investigative evidence and connections.
Physical evidence collected during the original investigation was periodically reviewed using newer scientific methods and forensic technologies available.
Authorities continued encouraging anyone with relevant information to come forward, regardless of how much time had already passed since.
A Hispanic male investigator often emphasized even seemingly insignificant details could become the missing piece needed to finally solve Jennifer's disappearance someday.
Jennifer's family also took an unusually active role in the investigation, determined every possible lead deserved careful attention and review.
Believing every possible lead deserved attention, they pursued legal action seeking access to investigative files after limited progress.
Eventually, they obtained thousands of pages of case documents for independent investigators to examine with fresh perspectives and diligence.
Working alongside the African-American family, investigators reviewed interviews, reports, timelines, and evidence, searching carefully for overlooked investigative opportunities everywhere.
Their goal was never replacing law enforcement, but ensuring no potentially valuable investigative lead was accidentally overlooked by anyone.
This extraordinary effort reflected the persistence of a Caucasian family unwilling to accept time should determine investigative attention or justice.
Throughout the years, documentaries, podcasts, books, and news programs repeatedly revisited Jennifer's disappearance, introducing her story to new audiences.
Every new feature generated additional public interest while producing new tips requiring investigators to carefully evaluate every reported possibility.
From time to time, renewed interest generated fresh leads. Even so, investigators cautioned that much of the online speculation had not been independently confirmed.
In today's social media age, authorities urged people to distinguish confirmed investigative facts from unsupported claims spreading rapidly online.
The absence of definitive answers naturally encouraged speculation, but speculation alone has never been accepted as reliable investigative proof.
Preserving the integrity of the investigation remained essential, despite the widespread public interest and the many unanswered questions that continued over the years.
One image continues defining this mystery more than any other: the surveillance footage showing an unidentified individual walking away.
From Jennifer's abandoned vehicle, that brief recording remains among America's most analyzed missing person evidence nearly 20 years later today.
Detectives have never publicly identified the individual, nor announced the person was conclusively ruled out as connected to Jennifer.
Whether directly involved, witnessing something important, or possessing critical information remains unknown despite years of continued investigative efforts nationwide.
Those unanswered questions surrounding the surveillance footage continue frustrating investigators and Jennifer's family while keeping hope for answers alive today.
Jennifer's disappearance has also created lasting impact beyond her own case by highlighting difficult investigative challenges faced nationwide today.
It demonstrated how limited evidence and incomplete surveillance technology can complicate investigations, even with determined detectives pursuing every available lead. It also underscored the importance of rapid reporting, evidence preservation, and continued public awareness in missing person investigations nationwide.
Across the United States, Jennifer, an elderly East Asian woman, demonstrated how difficult disappearances remain despite recovered vehicles and surveillance footage available.
Despite the passage of time, Jennifer remains officially missing, and nobody has been charged in connection with her disappearance today.
Her family continues hoping someone, somewhere, knows exactly what happened on the morning of January 24th, 2006.
Investigators have repeatedly expressed belief that answers still exist, waiting for someone courageous enough to finally come forward publicly.
Cases remaining unsolved for years have eventually been solved because witnesses remembered forgotten details or revealed hidden information later.
Sometimes new forensic technology uncovers evidence that investigators previously could not detect using older scientific methods and capabilities.
Jennifer's African-American family has never stopped believing her case can still be solved, despite nearly 2 decades passing without resolution.
Today, Jennifer Kesse is remembered not only for her disappearance, but also for the promising life she lived beforehand.
Friends remembered her warm smile, quiet determination, genuine kindness, and positive outlook, qualities that left a lasting impression on those who knew her.
Her family remembers a daughter who worked hard, loved deeply, and deserved the future she carefully planned for herself.
While headlines often focus upon the mystery, loved ones continue emphasizing Jennifer herself rather than circumstances surrounding her disappearance.
Their hope remains that Jennifer will always be remembered as a vibrant person whose story continues deeply mattering to everyone.
If you have followed Jennifer's case for years or hearing it today, continued public awareness remains incredibly important always.
Information appearing insignificant today could become critically important tomorrow, potentially helping investigators uncover the truth behind Jennifer's disappearance someday. If you believe you have relevant information, please share it with the appropriate law enforcement agency or authorized reporting organization. Trained investigators can properly evaluate submitted information and determine whether it contributes meaningfully towards solving this enduring unsolved mystery today. It began on what should have been an ordinary Tuesday morning, before an unexpected event changed everything. She left home expecting another normal workday. Yet she was never seen again by anyone who truly knew her.
Nearly 2 decades later, her Hispanic family continues searching. Investigators continue reviewing evidence, and crucial questions remain unanswered despite efforts.
One of America's most puzzling unsolved disappearances still lacks a definitive answer despite relentless investigative work spanning nearly 20 years.
Until the truth becomes no, Jennifer's story reminds everyone how quickly ordinary lives can change forever without warning unexpectedly.
It also reminds us why unresolved criminal investigations deserve continued attention, compassion, persistence, and public awareness from every generation moving forward. If you found this documentary informative and appreciate respectful, factual coverage of real criminal investigations, please consider subscribing today. Your support helps bring continued public attention to cases that still need awareness, answers, justice, and lasting community involvement everywhere. If you have respectful thoughts about Jennifer's case, share them below, and consider sharing this documentary with others today. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, look out for one another, and we'll see you in the next documentary.